Hello, welcome to the GSTL. It's Friday at 6:10 p.m. Korean Standard Time, and we have one of our top teams versus one of our lower teams today with Axiom-Acer against NS HoSeo.
Axiom-Acer currently being second in the league, and NS HoSeo is all the way at the bottom. Today will determine which of the teams... It's not going to do anything for NS HoSeo, but for Axiom-Acer, a lot of it is on the line here, because for them every single map matters. It's not only about winning the team match in general, but it's about how many maps can they claim, how many indicator points will they get today, because we have very close runnings for first place and for all the places except for the bottom two.
Yeah, of course, you know, Prime will also play tomorrow, and they are totally out of the running as well. So these two teams really just playing for pride this weekend. And, you know, NS HoSeo has a lot to prove today, just simply because they, you know, unlike Prime, they have no notoriety except that they have a bunch of players that people remember who are no longer part of the team, or Jockji, who was a GSL champion, who has also struggled recently.
Yep.
He did recently requalify for the Challenger League, but I mean, he's not on top of his game anymore.
Jockji definitely is still the backbone of his team, and he's the guy who, as Wolf just said, qualified for the Challenger League again. We have Match1, who also went very far in the tournament, but then in the finals he lost his match to Dream. He was so close, one map was missing, but he lost the last map. So today they're going into this match with only one player in one of the individual leagues, and Axiom-Acer, of course, this season proven to be very, very strong, taking second place currently.
Really good strategy and tactics coming out of Axiom-Acer with such a small pool of players. They're choosing the players they really feel confident on sending out first, and also making really good map choices. They're looking really, really strong. When you look at a player pool that's that small and having this much success, it's kind of insane. You know, you look at the Prime team on the other hand, and even though the player pool is a little bit bigger, they only rely on the same players. And when you only have that many players, you can find yourself a little bit predictable. Prime's been struggling, but on the other hand, Axiom-Acer with a smaller group of players also doing really, really well.
For NS HoSeo, for Axiom-Acer to take first place in the league, they would have to win today, and MVP would have to lose their next match. That's the only scenario where we would really see Axiom-Acer take the top spot in the ranks. Everything else, indicators, they don't really matter here too much, so it's a win or lose situation.
Yeah, absolutely so. So really important match for them today. Crank said in a previous interview that even though NS HoSeo is one of the weaker teams, they really prepared hard for this match, and they're not taking them... I wouldn't say they're not underestimating their opponents, even though they've got a team that they're up against who historically this season has done very poorly. Got to take them seriously still.
Axiom-Acer is currently 5-1 in the league, the same amount of matches won and lost as the top team, as Team MVP. In regards to the indicator, MVP is far ahead of them, but it doesn't really matter because the direct comparison is what really counts here. And once the Axiom-Acer wins today, then they will be in a position where MVP has to win their match 2 in order to claim first spot if they don't want to drop down to take second in the ranks. So for both teams, quite important here to win their matches. For NS HoSeo, on the other hand, pride is on the line. They got all killed this season more than any other team. They got all killed in every single match except for one game, for one match against the Prime team where they actually won. And it's basically an issue of pride.
It is absolutely all about the pride. You talked about the indicators earlier. Here they are on screen. And of course, here is the race distribution for these two players, as well as their code rosters.
Once again, to highlight it, Axiom-Acer does not have a single player in Code A or Code S because they decided to participate with their players in WCS North America. Don't be fooled by the statistic here. Really important to note. And the one player that we have in Code A for NS HoSeo is, of course, Jockji, who just qualified for Season 2.
Yeah. He did. We had a very close match between Izubu and Epix Open where Symbol was able to take the final win against SC, making the score 4-3. And that was definitely a match I would recommend to go back and watch.
That puts Epix Open in a really awkward spot. They are currently ranked 7 in the league, and ahead of them are Izubu and StarTailor. And from those 3 teams, only 2 will be able to advance to the playoffs this season. So Epix Open is in a really bad spot to make that happen.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be out of their control whether they make it in. And the same could be said of Axiom-Acer of getting first place, because as you mentioned before, they have to win and MVP has to lose. Even if their scores are tied and both teams win, it's impossible. Even if they got an all kill and MVP got all killed, they still wouldn't be, well, actually that's not possible because they would both win, but what I'm trying to say is there's no way for the indicator to be better if both teams win. So MVP also has to lose.
Yeah. Well, there we have
The roster again.
Yeah, the roster again. You can look at the race distribution. Of course, it's a lot better for NS HoSeo. They're a little bit less predictable, but the problem is really the quality of their players. Axiom-Acer just has so many strong players in this league, and of course also the best individual player in the GSTL is on their team. It is Ryung, the starting player of the day.
Yeah. So you can see here the distribution. The points are, so much heavily in favor of MVP in first place, and NS HoSeo and Prime way down at the bottom.
NS HoSeo is in -16 here of the indicator. That says it all. So they have to change things today. I did an interview with Jakji at the Code A qualifier, the WCS Challenger League qualifier in Korea, and he also talked a little bit about the team, about his role in Team NS HoSeo, and about what they have prepared for this team match. If you want to check out the interview, it's already online. It's on youtube.com/hal.tv. youtube.com/hal.tv. There's not only the interview with Jakji, where he talked about his performance at the WCS qualifier, but also we have a first-person video of Madball that we might see today, just showing him in his last and final game that he played at the qualifier. He was up against Dream in his final match, so you can check that out as well if you want to have a look at his keyboard, mouse, and how he plays.
Yeah, a lot of cool videos, not only from this qualifier, but the previous one for you guys up on GOMTV. In this match, we saw a little bit more domination out of Axiom-Acer against Startail than what most people were expecting to see.
You know what, talking about the interview again for just a second, the funny thing was actually that I didn't even plan to do an interview because I didn't have a translator. But Mr. Che was at the venue, and suddenly Mr. Che came over and was like, hey, let's do an interview. Let's get Jakji and do an interview. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So Mr. Che, actually the translator for the interview with Jakji that you can look up on YouTube. That was pretty funny, and he did a great job there. His English is not as good as the English of John, for example, or of course Chung, who is a native speaker. But yeah, it was pretty cool, just him going the extra mile there and helping us out with that.
Yeah. Shoutouts to Mr. Shea. Here's some more information for you guys. LGIM versus NS HoSeo. Another one of the matches that NS HoSeo, of course, struggling with there. He got all killed by an ST, in fact.
There's Madbull, the guy with his leg ceremonies. I explained to him earlier what the term to have a leg up in English means, and he didn't even know about that. I actually thought to a certain extent that was like on purpose, but like he had no idea. And when I explained it to him, I'm not quite sure if he understood everything, but he laughed and he was a little bit embarrassed when I explained, Scarlett, what we were talking about, because apparently she didn't see those videos yet, those ceremonies.
Speaking of Scarlett, she is the only foreigner on the roster of Axiom-Acer, representing Acer here along with MMA. And you've got good players like Alicia, you've got Ryung, who's the starting player, Hart, and Frank.
Scarlett is apparently a little bit sick, so she feels a little bit under the weather today and is not really sure if she's going to play today, but she's there for the team. Always an option if they need a strong Zerg player here. MMA, of course, also here being on screen, and the starting player to the left is Ryung.
Yep. Very solid lineup of players. A very small roster, but that doesn't mean that they are weak, as already evidenced by their scores this season. NS HoSeo, on the other hand, a much bigger roster, but they have been really struggling. They have so many known names on their team, but they just still haven't been able to quite get over that hump that they're facing right now.
Yeah, and Kaisar also doing really well in the qualifier. I don't think that he was able to qualify, but he got really far in his bracket. I actually have to double check that. But we saw already earlier that there's only one player in Code A, and that should be Jakji, but Kaisar definitely did a really good job. Killed a couple of Casper players.
He made it to the finals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he made it to the finals, but I think he lost in the finals. But he took a couple of Casper players down. It was really quite impressive to see that. Would love to see him there for today. I really like that. Maybe mixing it up a little bit. But the starting player for NS HoSeo is Sanai.
Sanai definitely having some struggles this season, especially notably his Zerg versus Cross that he lost in a very unique manner, is the most polite way to say that.
He just fell apart there. I mean, I think that was really nerve issues. The problem really for NS HoSeo being that Ryung, the player who starts today for Axiom-Acer, already all-killed in the last match. He all-killed Startail, is now leading the individual rankings in the GSTL. And taking him down is going to be their first and their biggest problem. But from then on, we have so many players that Axiom-Acer can rely upon.
That's Ryung for you.
Yeah. Ryung is like the biggest green troll next to MC.
And as HoSeo coach, going back to his standard tie, last time he had a different tie on, was maybe... He had an interesting shirt or something, but now he's got his standard tie. Maybe he thinks that's going to give him a little bit better luck today.
Teams are ready to go. Leading the charge is the Mad Bull, the Mad God here. And of course, Jakji, the backbone of the team, he already promised that he will do his best now today after qualifying for Korea. He wanted to qualify to give his team just the motivation to do the same, to qualify for League, to give their best, to just give them a little bit of motivation going into not only this last match, but also then the next season, the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's really important for the team morale. They've lost so many good players, so many players that you guys remember, like Seal, for example, like Freaky, like San, you know, now on Azubu.
And he's a really cool guy. I really love Jakji, and the guy is now back in Code A, and I'm so happy for him. And he actually said in the interview immediately, he said, like, my goal is not Code A. I want to go back to Code S right now. I want to go into the Premier League. And he's just such a nice guy, and also one of those Koreans he's not a guy who pushes himself in the front, but he's always the guy, if you ask him a question, he will answer very honestly about what he thinks about that topic. Definitely check out that interview, guys. He is an awesome person.
Yeah, he really is, and a very good player, very friendly guy. And we'll see if his team can come through here. I don't see a win happening, but if NS HoSeo gets all killed today, they're going to walk away from this team league being, you know, kind of the embarrassment of the league with a negative 20 score on the indicator.
You know, if they actually grow a spine today and get a backbone and take down Axiom-Acer, think about how devastating that would be for the team of Total Biscuit, Jenna Bane, and of course Husky. That would be... That would be devastating for them, because that's like the one win that you are guaranteed if you look at the entire season. And if now suddenly it turns out that Mad Bull, Jakji, maybe Kai Science and I have been training like crazy, practicing not only for the qualifier but also for the team league, then suddenly they lose the match. They don't have a chance anymore to go into the top place, and they might actually lose the second spot.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be horrible for them, and also pride-wise. But it would, you know, be a good thing for NS HoSeo, for their team to leave behind. You know, saying, well, we beat the team that was at that time in second place, even though we lost to basically everybody else except Prime.
No, so definitely today one of those situations where you don't expect to lose, but it's always, the danger is there. And if you look at the ranks, if they lose today, Axiom-Acer that is, and then LGIM wins their next match, then they will take the second place. And with the format that we have, being one place ahead of an opponent or an opposing team in the ranks means that you have to play one less match going into the playoffs, and that's really important. So right now, every match, every map matters, even if you're already qualified for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely so. So really, really important match here for both teams. Pride is all NS HoSeo can hope to win, though. Ryung, the starting player, he wants to be the top of the individual league. This is why he started against Startail. He's also started today here. He wants to get an all kill to solidify his position as the first place player. And even if he doesn't get an all kill, if he gets multiple kills, he's going to be way up there.
Yeah. He's already in a really good spot, especially, of course, after his all-kill against Startail. That was something that a lot of people did not expect. Now he's up against Team NS HoSeo. And as you already said, if he can perform again today, then he will be so far ahead of all the other players that are currently trying to go far in the individual ranks. We have a couple of players for MVP that are also in a decent position, but Ryung, he has surpassed them all.
Yep. Ryung's first opponent, of course, on the other side of things, is going to be Sanai, who has so far kind of flopped this season. Maybe, just maybe, he's gotten himself back together. He looked strong in the preseason. A lot of people are looking forward to seeing what new strategies he might show us in Heart of the Swarm, but he really needs to get himself together. Maybe the chance he's got here is going to be what he needs to finally overcome that fear he has in the booth.
In the preseason, we saw him with very interesting timing pushes, but that was also back when we were in the Heart of the Swarm beta. So now the game is a little bit more figured out, and he is up against a very strong opponent. This season, all the games that we've seen from him so far were a little bit underwhelming after we really thought him to be one of the promising players on the NS HoSeo roster. But maybe now he has his nerves under control, he is able to leave those emotions outside of the booth and give his best here, show the performance that he is apparently capable of in the team house. If he can do that, if he can take down Ryung, that would be a huge step for the team.
Yeah, it absolutely would. This is, I mean, taking out Ryung here would be such a great motivator for the team. It's like, whoa, you stopped their player who all-killed Startail in the first round. Then that's going to make also Sanai feel like he can take on anybody they throw at him for the second game.
For them it would be really important just to gain some momentum, because so far they have been all killed all the time, and it's just, that is just gnawing at your confidence if that happens to you like over and over again, going in each and single matchup. And they have to do something. You need one player who just steps it up, who delivers the first few points, gives the team the confidence, and that's like, guys, we can do this. This season is over for us, but let's just show our best. Let's show everyone that we are still capable of winning matches, and that's what Sanai is trying to do here. He has a very tough match ahead of him. He is up against Ryang, who just killed StarTale, a strong player also in this matchup. It is Ryang up against Sanai at the GSTL 2013 Season 1. Hello. Starting to the bottom right on a kill on in our first game today here at the GSTL, we have the Axiom-Acer player, the Terran in blue.
Axiom Young.
He just all killed StarTale in the last match, took down 4 players in a row. He was unbeatable, and he has a strong record in this matchup as well. Up against the Zerg to the top left of the map, we have for NS HoSeo.
NS HoSeo Sanai.
Sanai so far does not have a single win in Heart of the Swarm against a Terran, online or offline. This is not a good matchup for him. He lost against Sound, he lost against Dream, he lost against Cure in the qualifier for Season 1, and now he's up against a very strong opponent. Ryang has a 67% win ratio against Zerg, and the Zerg players that he took down, they are like curious. He took down Life, both of course part of Team StarTale when he was performing the all kill. He won against Moonglade with a 3-0. What is that picture? What is that?
It's Sanai's face over.
I know, but like,
I'm not sure which girl that was actually. I didn't catch that until late.
That was unexpected.
That's one of those things where you're like, that's an interesting Sanai fan. Speaking of Sanai, he's going to block the CC first, or at least delay it. There it is. Nicely done by Ryang. Fakes him out, makes it look like he's going to try to place it in the natural, then starts it here in the main.
But at least he knows about it, you know? So at this point, he at least knows what's up. He can deal with this.
Goes gas before pool after seeing this.
Yeah. Can edge out a couple of additional harvesters without a problem. And with him going into gas, we could see a bit of a timing here. We could see him with the aggression, because the other option is, of course, going into a third hatch before you start with your own spawning pool.
Yeah. So I like this choice, though. This map is a map where it's tough to... If you don't do damage early on with some sort of aggression, it's hard to stop a Terran player who gets that easy third base and then gets the 3-3 upgrades out and keeps attacking you with drops all over the map. We've seen a lot of players commit on this map to heavy Mutalists, even forcing sometimes Terran players to make Thors. Maybe we'll see something like that if he wants to go to late game, but I would expect he wants to put some aggression on here so that at the very least he feels like he's the one who's controlling the game.
It's going to be quite interesting to see what exactly Sanai is having in mind here. A lot of times when we expected the NS HoSeo players to go for a timing attack, Mad Bull for example, they were just trying to go into the late game against their opponents, having all the confidence in the world that they are able to out-macro the opposing player. But on a map like Aquilon, there are so many timings that you can hit as a Zerg player. I wouldn't put it past Sanai to just say, you know what, I'm just going for it.
Yeah, would not be surprised at all. And Sanai so far just starts speed, pulls all 3 harvesters out of gas. Doesn't even keep 1 inside, so makes aggression a little bit less likely, but it's still definitely possible.
Scouts on the main base now, and the speed is of course already started, so let's see what Sanai has up his sleeves here. He's a player who in the preseason started builds like Swarm Hosts with Nidus, that back then that was like unheard of. It was something that we saw for the first time. Just was of course still the beta. But right now, is he playing a more traditional style? Will we see a Roach Roar? Is he trying to go into the Roach play? Or what kind of build will we have out of Sanai? Ryang, of course, one of the most solid players in the league here. He is such a strong player that he will scout. He will try to find out what exactly is going on, what kind of build he's facing, and then adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I expect that he's going to send a scan down fairly soon. He will have Hellions out quickly as well to see if there's a third base, which so far there is not. And still not any gas mine from Sanai, so we're definitely not going to see one of those fast timings.
He still could. We have before the 6-minute mark, so he could still do it if he takes the gas fairly soon. He takes the third base now. I would expect to see the extractors within the next 10 to 20 seconds, and then him getting gas again from at least 2 extractors. We have the armory on the other hand for Ryung, and Ryung is going into Hellbats. That much is already certain.
Yeah, Hellbat's definitely going to be the next step here for Ryung. We're seeing Hellbats used in almost every matchup very, very frequently. You know, the matchup I suppose you'd say they're used the least is against Protoss.
And there we go, double extractor now being built, starts mining gas again as expected, going into the Roach run here. So he still has the opportunity to hit one of those timings. We don't see a double evolution chamber for him just yet, and he's also not going into the lair tech, but he might do that as soon as he has the 100 gas to pull it off. Third base was scouted, the main question being here, will he saturate it? Is he going to send units over to actually get mining done from there?
He has 45 drones so far, and he's adding evolution chambers. He's taken only 3 extractors, not 4. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. You know, with the queens that he has, Spore Crawlers now against the drops, the question really is what kind of upgrades is he going to start once those evolution chambers are done? That is going to be really important. And oh, that was a misstep.
Yeah, he definitely should not let those Hellions get in here. This is a problem.
Yeah, this is going to become a huge problem.
And he will kill several of these harvesters in the main base. And he's also forcing lost mine time from Sanai. Oh wow, a huge kill there. Nicely done here by Ryung. And he gets, in total here, with those 3 Hellions, 7 drones.
Yeah. 7 drones in total, and now Sanai has to stabilize. He has the resources, he's probably going into the upgrades right now. Let's see what kind of upgrades he's actually researching here.
Roach upgrades,
yeah, he's going for this push. He's going for the push on... I'm actually surprised that he doesn't start... He should start his lair tech soon. If you start the lair tech fairly soon, you will be able to get your Roach speed out as well. But if you're going to 1-1 upgrades, usually you want to hit a timing, and there's the lair tech.
Yeah, gets it. He will have to deal with this Hellbat drop. It's already been spotted. The queens are ready. Really nice defense here so far from Sanai. He has Roaches in position as well. This is not going to do anything.
Yeah. So the idea of Sanai is here originally to go into double upgraded Roaches with speed and then hit as soon as he has those out. Hit with a Baneling Nest as well. He's going for a timing here. Let's see if he can pull it off, because 7 Harvests is lost already. That throws him off balance a little bit. And we have now those Roach drops, of course, Hellbat drops coming in. And they could do even more damage, and then his whole timing is just going to help.
Exactly. Only 1 Harvester killed here. Not the best control from Ryung on that one. He could have gotten both, and perhaps the Queen if he had microed a little bit better. But he runs away.
Yeah. There come also those additional Roaches right now. He has he should build a few additional Overlords now to make sure that he gets the supply that he needs to just get the units out there. There are 2. That's not going to be enough in the end. He needs a few more. Especially since now the Viking is sniping a bunch of Overlords and making sure that his supply is actually supply blocked at this point.
Yeah. Well, talking about what Ryung is doing back here, he's continuing to build Hellbats. He's clearing up Overlords with Vikings. He's preparing to take that third as he kills the rocks here. And this timing is very, very strong. Ryung is going to have to get an idea of what's going on here. He hasn't seen that big pack of Roaches yet. And once he sees that, that's when he's going to need to put up the bunkers and get ready.
Yep.
If he doesn't see them until they're moving out, then I don't know if he's going to be able to hold this.
You don't necessarily have to do that with the Baneling speed, and with Banelings you can very well do that only with Roaches and the 1-1 upgrades. Jan, for example, really loves to do it, but he's still trying to pull this off. The timing is a little bit off, as you can see, and that's a result of those Harvesters being lost, and the timing is just being a little bit off. 1-1 is already done, where the 2 speed upgrades are not through just yet, but we actually have him going into the first melee upgrade and not hitting the timing right away. He's at the 16 Harvesters that you would expect, and now he needs to rally those units across the map.
Yeah, he definitely needs to start moving out with them, and this is when Ryung is going to get his first sight of the big pack of Roaches. Now he knows exactly what's going on. He needs to react to home. He started Widow Mines earlier. He will have 1-1 as well.
Yeah, but for Sanai, this is not going to work out as well as he thought it would, because he has a few more Harvesters than you would usually have with this. He is always supply blocked the entire time, and he kind of needs to abandon the idea of making this happen. He gets 6 Overlords, and that will finally give him the opportunity to use those resources. But to be quite frank with you, that timing is already defeated.
Yeah,
he's already at 12 minutes, and that's just too late.
Yeah, he's definitely missed his window here. Viking clears up another Overlord. Just continuing to be very annoying here. Meanwhile, as he distracts units in the main base, clears up some of the tumors here. Does not pick up very quickly. Well, that trade's okay here against the Banelings.
Sanai is in a very awkward position now. He gets the macro hatch and he's transitioning into Mutalisks. So he's going into Mutaling Baneling. But you can really see that the timing that he was aiming for is just gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he would have... He definitely planned on doing a timing, otherwise he wouldn't have made all these units like this.
No, it's not even about the units, but the upgrades. Getting that first attack upgrade for the Roaches, there is no other point than if you want to hit that upgrade timing. And he has the Roaches on the map. He knows that he cannot just simply run in anymore because there's too much defense for Ryung. But he has them on the map, so he has to do something with them. And he will probably just try to have a quick look at the third base, maybe take down those rocks if possible, just to prepare for the late game. And putting the pressure on Ryung will also cover his transition into the Spire to a certain extent.
Yeah. I really like what Ryung has done here. He's got his units ready here at the 30. Also has secondary wall set up behind the rocks with depots. This hatchery will be saved. Nicely done here by Sanai, but he's not going to get a whole lot done with these roaches, especially with the siege tank out now. He's got so many Widow Mines here as well. And the upgrades are going strong still.
The one thing that Sanai has, thanks to that build now, he has a bit of a disadvantage, of course, because his tech is delayed and he invested a lot more in his army than he wanted to. But he has the map control, and that's the one advantage that he has to run with. Getting that fourth base up, making sure that he secures the rest of his base as well. He's going into +2/+2 now, as well as the Overlord speed that will help him with the Overseers to detect Widow Mines when the Mutalisks fly in. But these are all things that he has to hit now. Spread the creep, get the Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers out, be safe against drops, and then try to make this happen. But of course, the idea here was a different one.
Yeah, definitely so. Ryung is really just taking this moment to get all of his upgrades out and to start being aggressive on the map. He has the Widow Mine upgrade already ready, as you saw there. The Widow Mine's growing so quickly. He's trading against the Roaches, and the Roaches are just not valuable at this point anymore in this game.
There's a little bit of core unit control. One Baneling for Marine, that's not what you want to do.
Never.
Buys him a bit more time, but we have the Queen going down at the third base. No injects at those two hatches anymore. At least the Medivac is now gone, but it allows his opponent to go once more onto the creep and just get the scans off. Force that creep carpet back, and that's of course what you want as a Terran player. Get the map control back.
Exactly. So many mutas out on the map now for Sanai. He banked up that gas. He's going into 18 in total. And as you can see here, the flock is getting pretty big. He needs to find some way to use them, though, because Ryung's army is getting stronger and stronger. He's about to hit 2-2. He's going to have that a little bit faster than Sanai.
Ryung wasn't pressured in this game. He could do whatever he wanted, and he's going into additional command centers now. He's even adding a second armory because he wants those upgrades for the Hellbats and the siege tanks. And we have the Roaches and the Banelings moving in right now. The Widow Mines doing their best to actually keep that army at bay. Really decent job here, and you can already see that Sanai is quite struggling against this composition.
A very epic victory there for Ryung to just be able to take that army out so handedly. He does have to be careful with his Medivacs against this many mutas, but he even has siege tanks in his composition because he knew he was facing this many Roaches, and the control on the Widow Mines is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's one of those positions where we could see a Thor coming out later on if he does not solely want to rely on those Widow Mines, but the Widow Mines do a decent job. Another hit going in.
Sanai's got to be more careful than that. He's losing several mutas here.
That's too many, yeah, that's definitely too many. And especially when those 2-2 upgrades, so the 3-3 is now on the way, 2-2 is done. He has the second armory completed, so he could go into double upgrades for his mech units. But this is really Ryung now executing the pressure build that we are used to see from him. And Sanai, he is really struggling against this. Mutalisks versus Marine, there's just no way.
And siege tanks versus Banelings and Roaches. Obviously that was a good Baneling hit there, but it's just not enough. And this base is so dead.
The space is dead, and that's not the only thing that's dead in the waters now. It is Sanai who's in the last few seconds of this game. He's trying to come through somehow for his team, but this is just not going to happen anymore. Ryung is taking complete control of that spot.
He's in a great position here, you know, he's got his siege tanks at the back, he's got a good fan out of Marines, he has the upgrades, he has so many Widow Mines to support.
He controls the ramp too, all the reinforcements that go down here will get a few shots of those Widow Mines or the siege tanks, and he can drop wherever he wants to. 100 supply, 110 against 186, and 3-3 upgrades, of course, are miles away from Sanai, who doesn't even have a high tech.
I feel the big story of this game is Sanai committed to a timing that just he did not hit. And maybe the drones affected him, maybe he decided he wanted to transition out of it, but...
He takes down the siege tanks now that the Marine numbers are limited, but he will not be able to stop the second wave that is currently going across the map, just highlighted by Legend here. So once those Marines are there, the Mutalisks won't do anything. They are struggling as it is against the Widow Mines.
Yeah, and now he controls the natural ramp, and that's basically checkmate. He's just got too much bio here. The Banelings are morphing desperately. There are siege tanks in tank mode firing at them. this is going to be the end of this game. Banelings hitting the Warping Bane, or rather the Widowmines hitting the Warping Banelings.
This is the last stand of Sanaya, rolling in with those Banelings, trying to pull it off, but the next wave of Marines is already on their way. 100 supply lead for the Terran player, and Sanaya, he's out of luck here. 3 Mutalisks are not going to win him this battle, and the Zerglings that he's currently building, they will be too late to save this base. +3/+3 is soon going to hit, and now even the spawning pool is about to be sniped.
Yeah, and with no spawning pool, you can't hope to make really anything. That's it. GG.
Ryung takes the lead for his team once more. Axiom-Acer on the first game here. Sanaya not able to take him down.
Like you said, you put it very well when you said, Ryung was just not pressured. So he built an army that he was not interrupted from making, hit his timing well, got into a good position. He even had those siege tanks to support. And some of the Mutalisk control that we saw from Sanaya through the mid-game, I mean, he was already behind, but the Mutalisk control was so poor that he lost so much hit points, and that really was the nail in the coffin.
What you usually do when you go for this build is you build the evolution chambers to close off the ramp, and you get an extra spine crawler if you want to be super safe. Then you have the extra queens that protect the ramp. And the queens, they were on the low ground trying to spread creep. He didn't see the Hellions. The Hellions go in, and it's not only about those 7 harvesters that he loses. That, of course, throws him back, but that's only part of the story. The different thing is, like, he loses the mining time, and he has to deal with all of this. He has to split drones, he loses time, he loses precious seconds that he needs to just have to execute this build in time, and that didn't work.
You
so
could just
suddenly,
see, even like his... sorry, I was just going to even see like his lair was delayed. You know, we talked about this. You point out, he needs to be starting his lair right now. It was a little bit late.
Yeah, you have to start that so that you hit your speed upgrades immediately. He played a little bit of a different push. If you go also into the Baneling nest, it's a bit different, but you need a lot more. He was supply blocked several times, he had to rebuild the Overlords, and usually you really want to have a huge amount of roaches. Once that your speed hits and that your upgrades hit, then you rally them across the map, and then you just take down what is there. You try to kill your opponent, and if that's not possible, at least trade cost efficient, get a little bit ahead in the economy, because he can saturate the 3rd base that he doesn't have yet. You can go into the 4th, and that never happened. Those units were just... They was just standing there.
They were dead supply.
Attack. Exactly. That was useless.
Exactly. As a Zerg player, you always want to get your economy ahead of your opponent, or put your opponent's economy down and then catch yours up, surpass him. And you make a bunch of units that are used to bring your opponent's economy down, and they never get to even attack. Yes, it gives you map control, but Ryung just had that army, and he just tore through the map once the floodgates were open.
Sanaya invested resources in roaches, in roach speed, and in roach upgrades that he never used. You can, as a Zerg, go into a roach one early on, try to pressure a little bit. That's something that you usually do on 2 bases, and then transition into Lingmuta Baneling. But you never want to go with that composition into the mid-game and then transition. That's really awkward, and you usually only do it if your opponent forces you to. So this game was one where he just realized, well, I can't do what I wanted to. I lost too much time, I lost too many harvesters, I'm already 12 minutes in the game. He will have the defense set up. I need to change. I don't want to go with Roach Hydra into the mid and late game. If I do that, he's going to drop me 6 days to Sunday.
Who's it going to be, Kaldor? I feel like they're going to go with Joxy or Mad Bull here. It's Tassadar, though. That's actually the third thing I was going to say, was if it's not one of those two, if they're going to send Tassadar out, I don't want him to be last. And, we've seen Tassadar fail time and time again this season, but I much prefer seeing him second than seeing him last, as we have many times.
I don't want to see him at all right now. I want to see Kaisar. Not as a second player, but I feel if we have Tassadar now, then we might not see Kaisar today. I thought maybe not Jakchi in this match. I don't know, I just feel that Tassadar underperformed a little bit the last time we saw him. Kaisar at least did a good job at the Corday qualifier. I really hope that the NS HoSeo coach is sending out Jakchi and Kaisar after this. But what about players like Salvation?
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there that definitely could have sent out a new face, because so far at Tassadar, no results.
I mean, I want to see Mad Bull too, Mad Bull would be more the Zerg player, the Protoss player that I want to see instead of Tassadar. As it is, it's Tassadar against Ryung. We are heading into a 10-minute break, and as soon as we are back, we will see the next match.